Early holiday savings have arrived at Tanger Outlets. Discover the best gifts from your favorite brands, perfect for everyone on your list. And stack your savings with up to 70% off, plus an extra 15 to 25% off only during Tanger Style. Save at Polo Ralph Lauren, Old Navy Outlet, Under Armour, Skechers, J. Crew Factory, and more. Hurry in. These early holiday deals last through November 24th. Tanger Outlets. More savings, more cheer.
Your time and expertise are valuable, making focus one of the most important resources to have at work. These days, professionals spend nearly half the work week on written communication, and it can be difficult to stay on task with all the emails and documents you have to get through. With Grammarly as your AI writing partner, you can stay focused and quickly get through your work with relevant real-time suggestions wherever you write. It works across 500,000 apps and websites, so it can help with everything, from brainstorming presentation ideas to sounding more confident and persuasive in emails and reports. For 15 years, Grammarly has offered best-in-class communication support and enterprise-grade security on a business model that doesn't sell your data. 93% of professionals report that Grammarly helps them get more work done. Download Grammarly for free at grammarly.com/podcast. That's GRAMMARLY.com/podcast.
You're listening to the Superman Super Show, episode 51, Terror Stalks San Caluma. Hello and welcome to the Superman Super Show. I'm a host. My name is Ed, and 1,000 miles over there to my left is another host, Mr. Steeven Orr.
Hello.
Yes, Doug, philosophy is always entertaining. And for those of you that aren't on it with us live, but listening to this post, this is one of our live people we just responded to. So
that's right.
We're not just talking in the air, although we are talking in the air. But yeah,
we are a philosophy podcast disguised as a Superman podcast.
Cleverly and successfully, I believe.
Yeah. I don't know if you could even put me in the same bucket as the word clever. I'm not even in the same room.
I think we're pretty cleverly disguised as a Superman podcast.
Well, yeah, considering it's called Superman Super Show.
Well, Okay, so this past week, right? Or maybe a little longer, maybe a couple weeks ago, within the past couple weeks, I went looking for some podcasts that were comic book centric, but not the typical comic book kind of stuff I've been listening to. And that's kind of difficult to define as far as, well, I was looking for something that wasn't. I know what I normally listen to, and I wanted it to be comic book centric, but other.
Yeah.
And I saw a show that had just started up, and it is the sister show to another show that I picked up as well, two of them together, on the same feeds, but you can same feed singular, but you can get them on separate feeds plural if you want to. That way you can pick one or the other. They both are discussing creators that were made famous by working on Donald and or Scrooge McDuck and Donald Duck. But the one is the new one, just released its second episode this week, called Rosa Remarks, and it talks about the career in chronological order of the Disney strips that Don Rosa drew and or wrote eventually. And the main podcast, the Rosa Remarks, is an offshoot of Barks Remarks, which is the same only for the creator, Carl Barks.
Okay.
Now, most of my comic book reading career, I have heard of both, at least definitely one, and then both of these men as notable creators, but I have never read Disney books.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, if they're going now, the quasi unfortunate things is the Barks Remarks is about 60 plus episodes in. So I'm starting rather late on that one, but I'm a fan of the chronological discussion of a creator's output. That just seems to really fit in the pocket of what I like to listen to. So I started listening to both of them. As I said, Rosa Remarks has only got 2 episodes out, and I've listened to 2 episodes of Barks Remarks as well. I listened to both of them back to back. When a new Rosa comes out is what I'm going to do. I think they come out about once a week, it looks to be like. And I must say, I have been surprisingly entertained with the Donald and or Uncle Scrooge stories that these gentlemen have been involved in. Could be could be due to their creative efforts. The characters, I don't know why exactly, because I'm really surprised by the fact that they are entertaining me to read as much as they are. I'm really surprised. So that is my, I guess, a recommendation if you're interested in some highly thought of creators who also do, pretty inconspicuous creation in that they're Disney products. I suppose if you want to try really hard, Carl Barks may have some things because of when he was creating that someone would take umbrage to. But by and large, and that would be in characterizations of certain people, maybe the treatment, Uncle Scrooge, Uncle Scrooge and Donald both, they get kind of aggressive in their treatment of people after negative things occur. Kind of like the, Steeven, kind of like the Saturday morning cartoons you and I grew up with, Bugs Bunny and stuff like that. It has aspects, but overall, it's about as innocuous as you can get, short of a Richie Rich or a Spooky Ghost or, some of those books.
Yeah.
Archie Andrews, I guess, is pretty innocuous as well. But it's been fun reading so far.
Cool. I'm fairly certain I know the name Carl Barks. I've never heard the other name before. So
Don Rosa?
Yeah.
Carl Barks. Well, actually, the way that it is often presented is that Don Rosa kind of took over for Carl Barks.
Oh, okay.
He came along about the time that Carl Barks was getting rather up there in age. Even now, I think Mr. Barks is gone. But I do know that I have seen Don Rosa at Heroes Con in past recent years. So he is up there in age as well, but he is at least able to, still travel and get to things like that.
Yeah. Cool. I have been binging the crap out of 2 podcasts, which are like yours. They're tied together, but they don't have one feed. They're 2 separate feeds, and they have nothing to do with comic books. Legends of the Old West and Infamous America.
Okay.
And they're both history podcasts. It's got a one guy, one host, Chris Wimmer. But it's one of those podcasts that obviously he makes money off of it because he's got writers and producers and stuff like that. So it's completely scripted, yet very at least they hold my attention. And over the last couple of weeks, I've listened to stuff about frickin' Bonnie and Clyde. He did this like crossover episodes where on Legends of the Old West, he was doing famous lawmen. And so he did Frank Hamer, who's the guy who took out Bonnie and Clyde. So then over on Infamous America, he did Bonnie and Clyde. And he does like a season is one topic. And they can be anywhere from 4 to 10 episodes per season. Okay. Typically, they're about four episodes. And then I went from Bonnie and Clyde, and then there was today I listened to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But it's like he talked about the making of the movie, but also the guy Ed Gein from the 50s who inspired Leatherface, basically the idea behind Leatherface. just a lot of stuff, a lot of interesting stuff. The Bermuda Triangle episodes about that was kind of fun. Legends of the Old West, of course, it's Old West stuff, right?
Right.
But Infamous America can just go all over the place as long as it's, a history lesson about something that happened in America. But I have not listened to anything else in the last 2 weeks, really, than those two shows, because I'm way behind on both. Right. I mean, I think I'm on season 10, maybe, of Legends of the Old West. And hold on, I think somebody is at my front door.
Uh-oh. Go chase them off.
That was weird.
Probably some school fundraising or something like that.
No, they the neighborhood kids who found an Amazon envelope with like some wrapping paper inside of it, and the label was all worn off. And they said, "Is this yours? We found it over there in the ditch." And I'm like, "No, it's not mine. I don't know whose that is."
Wow. We
had some pretty bad storms recently that probably blew off somebody's porch,
And we have Terry Moore here in the green room.
Well, we got 4 people watching,
right,
according to the thing up there.
Well, we have 2 people that haven't chimed in. You 2 that have not chimed in, chime so we know who you are.
Chime in.
So, you were talking about your podcast that you've been listening to.
Yeah, I think I'm on around season 10 on like Legends of the Old West, and there might be 25 seasons currently. I'm in 2021 on both of them. That's where I'm at right now. And I know I'm going to reach a point probably here within the next week that it's like, all right, I'm tired of listening to this, and probably will go 6 months without listening to either one again. But I've just it's been a lot of fun. Just some really interesting history type stuff and it makes me, it's like, I don't, if you know of any, let me know, but I would love to hear like comic book podcasts about just the history of comics in the same kind of vein, so, they write it and they script it. It's just one person who is narrating, but they still has to be entertaining, which is not an easy thing to do when you're just one voice.
Well, yeah. Probably the closest to something like that I can recently say that I've listened to was one that talked about the history of San Diego Comic-Con. It was about 6 or 8 episodes long, and threw out a lot of names of people that were involved and names of like, the first or second iteration of the convention and things like that stuff. It was pretty interesting.
That sounds really interesting. If you can remember what it's called, send it to me or something.
Okay, I'll look it up in my feed and get the name.
I'd like to listen to it.
Okay, not a problem.
All right, that's my banter for this episode.
All right, so today, folks, now that we have bantered, we're going to look at Terror Stalks San Caluma, which turns out is the 3rd story that was in Superman issue number 6, cover dated September-October 1940, with an on-sale date of July 10th, 1940. That information is courtesy, as well as the writer and artist, which I'm going to throw out here in a sec, of Mike's Amazing World of Comics. And the aforementioned writer was Jerry Siegel, with the aforementioned artist listed as Paul Cassidy, but let me look at something. I show that on comics.org, or the Grand Comics Database, that Paul Loretta also is responsible for some of the inking.
Okay.
On that, but it doesn't indicate. It's got Paul Cassidy, and he listed semicolon, but no indication of, pages X through Z so I'm not sure. And there's no footnote or anything as to, why someone would be thinking that Loretta was responsible for some of the inks as well. It's hard to say, but it's indicated enough, however, that they listed it on the Grand Comics Database, and that's a pretty reliable source of information. So, those of you out there interested in such things, I guess, take that as you will. All right, let's do a synopsis. And this is courtesy of the DC Fandom Wiki. Is that where the
no, this comes from...
is this from Mike's?
Mike's Amazing World of Comics as well.
Okay. The South American nation of San Caluma is devastated by an earthquake and a tornado. Well, that sucks.
That sucks.
back to back. That's pretty nasty. A relief commission is meeting to supply aid to the needy country. A plane carrying the commission members is sabotaged by the mechanic. Superman stops the plane from crashing, saving the passengers. Later, a boat carrying relief supplies has its engine damaged. Superman tries to question the original saboteur, good word by the way, but the man is assassinated. Also, while transitioning between Clark and Superman, a thief witnesses that action. He tries to blackmail Superman, but becomes scared and accidentally kills himself. A lot of stuff happening this 13 pages here. But we're not done, because Superman pushes the previously mentioned ship of relief supplies all the way to San Caluma. On the way, a plane tries to bomb the ship. Superman stops it and eventually uncovers the reason for the sabotage. A man named Mumsen wants to be made dictator. I was about to say director of the country. Made dictator of the country, or he will not allow relief to come to it. Superman exposes his plot, but in trying to kill the man of tomorrow, Mumsen dies in an explosion. With the terrorist gone, relief comes to San Caluma. Goodness. Very spy, raconteur-y kind of writing here. We, even though this is, what was it, 40? So early in World War II for us, right? Maybe we weren't in it until what, 40?
Yeah, we weren't in it yet.
Or 42?
41. I think Pearl Harbor was in 41, right?
Okay. But still, yeah, I've always, not always, but whenever I stop to think about it, I'm kind of surprised that Nazi spy-ish kind of thing isn't happening more in the Superman books.
Yeah.
So this is close. It's kind of spy-ish, kind of a tangential. It's an espionage, I guess, rather than a direct spy here in the U.S. or anything. But had definitely a topic, a story topic that we haven't seen too much of in Superman so far.
No, and the little bit in the middle where Clark comes home, changes into Superman, and there's a thief in his closet who he walked in on, and the guy hid from him and then decided to come out and stick him up. I feel like that's the first time in these Superman issues where a kind of a secondary plot that had nothing to do with the main plot was introduced in the story. And I tell you what, it threw me off because with everything going on, like you said, in those 13 pages, just with the relief ship and the guy trying to crash the plane and all that, and then you introduce this element in as well. I literally had to read this twice before I even understood what was going on.
Okay.
Not that I didn't enjoy it. I did enjoy it, but I remember the first time I finished it, I went on to read the other two that we're going to talk about tonight, but I remember going, I have no idea what that story was about. It was just like, hey, Billy D.
Billy D. What up, dog?
Billy D's in the house. But yeah, I sat there going, what was the point of that? I don't understand what even happened. And then I went back to read it again today and I was like, oh, because I don't even remember the first time through that there was a bad guy. I remember thinking, why are they trying to stop the relief efforts going on? Who's the boss behind this? And then finally, when I read it the second time, they did tell me who the boss was, but apparently that didn't stick the first time because he literally comes in at the very tail end. It's like, oh, by the way, Mumsen.
Yeah.
Whoever he is. Yeah. He's the guy. Yeah.
Don't know why or what he has to do with anything, just that he has the leverage to do this.
Right. It's like, okay, so is he from San Caluma, or was he reading the newspaper one day and said, "Oh, look what happened to San Caluma. I think I want to be their dictator."
I've got a good scam.
So they do tell us who the big bad is. They tell us why he's doing this as far as what he's going to get out of it. But as how he comes into the picture, we have no clue.
They don't tell us who he is.
No.
They did, yeah. So it's, but yeah, this was, and we remarked recently on one of the previous episodes about how this frantic kind of things happening hadn't been used for a little while in the stories. The stories were a little bit more streamlined and focused, and now here all of a sudden we've got the bomb and the mechanic and the dude and the ship, and he pushes it in the closet, and he knows. It's like,
well, and it's funny because every time a bad guy does something in this story, before Clark can learn or Superman can learn who they're working for, they die.
Yeah,
and you got the guy who is, so first it's the airplane with that's bringing the two guys from the commission to the flying field is what they called it, so they could, I guess, give a speech before the ship takes the relief stuff over.
Yeah, it's like,
I don't understand that at all. But so we have the co-pilot on that airplane that's just like, I'm going to stop the plane, and
with an awesome panel of him being the other pilot defending himself is one of the best panels I've seen in a while.
He hit him in the head with the freaking wrench or something.
Wrench, yeah.
It's like, and then we get, so the plane's going down.
Right.
Clark's there at the airfield. He sees it. He changes to Superman. He leaps into the air and pushes it up enough because it not only is it about to crash, it's going to fly into a steeple. And so he pushes it up while he's in the air enough so it goes over the steeple. But it's in the path of another airplane. And I can buy, here's the thing. I can buy him jumping up to the top of the steeple and then jumping up and pushing the one airplane away. But he jumps over to the second airplane, grabs onto the tail, and then, again, for those listening at home, Superman can't fly at this point. If he could fly, I would buy this. But he grabs onto the tail and somehow manages to just push it with no resistance behind him at all. But so he saves the planes. We find out, it's the co-pilot. He's the one that did it. And he's like, I'm not going to tell you why. And they take him to jail. And so he's going to go question the guy. But that's when he goes home and he changes into Superman. And there's a thief in the closet behind him who just comes out with his gun. Actually, before we even see him, we see that word balloon. He just goes, stick him up.
Yeah.
Which was so weird. And then he comes out with this gun. And then there's like this 5 or 6 panel conversation between him and the thief before either of them do anything. I feel like they wrote this story just about the San Caluma and the relief effort.
Right.
And then he sat down and went, hold on, that's only like 6 pages.
Exactly.
I need another 6 pages in here.
Yeah, I need to fill 13. That didn't do it.
Yeah, so he just, here's what we'll do. I'm going to have a guy discover that Clark Kent is Superman. But how am I going to get out of that? He'll accidentally fall down a flight of stairs and break his neck. It really kind of, to me, cements home that I think a lot of these stories were they didn't have a lot of time. They just bang them out next, bang out the next one. And, because I think you had mentioned before, this isn't the only book that Siegel's writing at this point. He's doing action.
Right.
Or he's doing the Superman comics in action. He's doing the Superman comics in the Superman books, which are 4 times a year. But he's also doing what? He's got other stories that
I think
show up in action, and
other stories in action, and he might have a strip or two in detective.
Yeah. He's got that. Is he the Slam Bradley guy?
I don't remember, to be honest.
Yeah.
We'd have to look it up. But yeah, he's one strip is not making how much money he needs to make. So he is doing multiple strips to make his money. And yeah, this definitely feels like he is not planning, and not that you necessarily have to either. I mean,
no.
There is no 6 strips from now, this is where I want to be. It's here's this strip. Okay. Oh, here's this strip. And so they're very between from one to the next, they're very disconnected. There's no, other than the main character, there's no, every now and then we did it. When did it happen the first time? Was it with the Ultra Humanite way back, or was it with Luther that there was kind of like one carryover?
Yep. Ultra Humanite, yep.
Okay, yeah, just once. And it was, the first story was kind of loose about the Ultra Humanite. He was more in the second. So it's very much like I've got 13 pages. Okay, I'm done. Here you go. And he moves on to whatever his next job is.
Yeah, because there was like you think about the last issue that the Ultra Humanite showed up in. So for at least those 2 to 3 issues, that dude had an arc. Mm-hmm. He was old bald guy in a wheelchair, and then he is suddenly then in the body. He kidnaps a famous actress and plants his brain in her. Right. And yeah, he had an arc, and yeah, and then I have to wonder if this little side story, that again, I feel like he's stuck in here because he needed to pad out the story. He didn't have enough story. Was this something maybe he had in a drawer? He had started this, I'm going to do a story where somebody finds out Clark is Superman. And so he started something and he didn't know how to finish it. So he stuck it in a drawer. And then okay, I need 6 more pages for this one. And he pulled that one out and he said, oh, but this doesn't go anywhere. I know, the guy will fall down a flight of stairs and kill himself.
Okay, so it's just, I'm sorry, go ahead and finish your thought. My bad.
Well, that whole part, just because like I said, there's almost this theme throughout this entire story of people dying. All the bad guys in this story die. Every single one of them die. Even when he goes to interrogate the guy in jail, and then one of the guards is a bad guy, and he pops out and he goes, traitor, shoots the guy in the back, shoots Superman, the bullet ricochets off of Superman, and then hits him and kills him too.
I don't know who this Mumsen dude is, but he's got people working for him everywhere.
Right? I was at one point thinking, well, this has got to be Luther. This feels like a Luther story, but no, Mumsen, who's this guy?
I don't know. Looking at Grand Comic Database for July of 1940, Siegel is credited with a strip in Action Comics, Adventure Comics, All-American Comics, All-Star Comics, Detective Comics, More Fun Comics, and the Superman book, which has 4 strips in it.
Wow.
So that's 10 strips. Now, they were all produced at the same time, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he was under the time constraints to get them all in the same time. They could have come in whenever. I mean, that would be a little more difficult to track. But yeah, so that's 10 strips roughly in the month of July 1940 that had Jerry Siegel's name on them. That's not bad. And you think that the anthology strips, which I don't think, looking at this list, I don't think All-Star Comics was an anthology book. I think it was one story throughout. But the rest of these strips are probably 13 pages-ish, 12 to 13 pages.
So that if you average that, that's 130 pages in a month.
Well, Superman is 4 strips in that.
Oh, that's
comic.
right.
And then if he wrote the entire All-Star Comics, which I read that for the Lords of Order book, not that particular issue, but Yeah, I don't remember it. Those strips were long because they had an open and close, and then they had room for each character to do his own thing. And there was 6 to 8 characters per, each one 6 to 8 pages long. So that was probably a 60-page book by itself, on top of 4 Superman strips for the Superman, on top of the strips in these other books. So he was turning in upwards to 200 pages of script.
Yeah. So it makes sense that these would be just crazy. Yeah.
So Doug is watching on his phone, he says, because Billy D and Terry are watching on the TVs. And okay.
I was going to point that out. For those keeping score at home, our live viewers, Billy's watching on TV, Terry's watching it on the TV, and Doug is watching on his phone.
Okay.
I'm live streaming from my phone.
Well, and I have 2 laptops going.
Ooh.
One that is streaming the camera and one that all the other information is on. So it's
like a hacker.
We're just, no doubt, Eat that, Albanians. Or no, I'm sorry. That's you had to be there, guys. It's okay. Communists and anyways.
Communists, man.
But every time something happened and before Superman could they died.
Yeah. And that's why I felt until we got to that end that it was Luthor behind the whole thing, because everything we've read up to this point that has involved Luthor, this is what he does.
I mean,
and I don't know why he didn't make this guy Luthor. Mumsen,
I don't know.
It just we do get a first in this book, though.
What was the first?
When Superman, after he saves both of the planes and he's falling back to the Earth like a leaden weight, I think it said, he looks down and the crowd gathers underneath him, and he's, oh my God, I'm gonna land on these people and kill them all. And so he grabs the sides of his cape, spreads it out like wings, and then just glides over the top of him. It's a very Batman thing that he's doing right there.
He can't fly, but he has graduated to gliding now.
Yes.
So we're getting there. Baby steps. It's he'll glide for 30 or 40 stories, and then he'll finally be able to.
Yeah, we'll have to be out on the lookout for that to see if that comes up again before he starts flying. Because I can tell you that it doesn't happen in the next 2 stories.
No. Yeah. Let me make a note here in my notes so that I can track it. Okay.
He also, when he saves the first plane, he does fall to the ground at that point, but it's as he's about to land that he sees, now there's a second plane and both planes are going to crash. He doesn't just hit the ground and jump back up. He does a somersault.
Right.
For some reason.
He jumps from the church to the ground and then jumps off the ground, somersaults to get to the second plane.
I mean, he actually tucks his knees in and grabs his knees, turns himself into a little ball for a second.
Yep.
And I think he's just showing off at that point.
Well, he's Superman. I mean, who's going to say anything?
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
Several panels as he's gliding, he is drawn in a way that he is flying.
Oh, yeah.
So it's several times in this story. So, I mean, people the artists are getting to the point where they're like, oh, come on, he can fly. But no, he can't fly yet. Okay.
Just the first time he jumps in this story, a tremendous upward leap, they say. It's the motion lines have him jumping in a curve. And that's not how you jump. That's how you fly. That's not how you don't jump that way.
Yeah, you can't claim a whole lot about physics in comic books, but I mean, you would have to jump in straight lines up and straight line down, which typically he does. But yeah, here lately it's been more and more that he's fly. Nope, Superman doesn't fly. Okay, all right,
but he can glide.
Yeah, he can now. That's.
The 2 officials are very funny looking. I love their outfits.
They're like something from the 18th century, dressed up like 18th century dudes.
Yeah, if you've ever seen Groundhog Day, the guys who are part of the Groundhog Day ceremony, they get the groundhog out of the thing. I believe that's how they're dressed. Big top hats, the big fluffy necktie things, and I don't understand the point of these guys. They're funny looking.
Yeah, we're getting ready to send a relief ship to their country. I don't understand why they're coming here. Everything has already been set up, obviously.
They're there to give us the speech, I guess.
Or maybe christen the boat with a champagne bottle or something, one of those things. Yeah. I don't know.
And then again, the thief guy in the apartment, that's funny. Especially since, where's your dough? He tells Superman, and Superman's response is, that's none of your affair. And then the guy tells him he's going to shoot him. And Superman's response is, well, you're not going to shoot me. You don't want the neighbors to hear that. That's why I've got a silencer. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, he's got a silencer on the end of his gun. Let me see. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 panels of conversation between the two of them before the guy finally takes a shot at Superman. Mm-hmm. And then that's when he's like, it didn't work, did it? Ooh, he starts straightening his ties like Rodney Dangerfield. He's really uncomfortable at this point. And then that's when he realizes, holy crap, that's Superman. And he runs.
Have we seen the text-only panel before?
Yes. Like where it says the thief fires again and again. Yeah, I feel like we have. I remember there was a story where he would put those text panels in, and then he would put a little design under each bit of text in those panels.
Yes,
which
that's right.
Looked weird. I assume just to fill up the space, but they're definitely not doing that here. But there's a lot of them in this one.
But it's nothing that we've seen a lot of, and here, it's all through this story.
Yeah, each page has at least one. Most of them have 2 or 3. And I'll tell you what, I know that this story wasn't technically titled. They gave it a title afterward when they put the collection together, whatever. But for a story titled, what is it? The Terror in San Caluma.
Terror Stalks San Caluma.
Yeah. Except for the first 2 panels of the story, nothing takes place in San Caluma.
No. So I don't know what terror is unless a back-to-back earthquake tornado is terror, which I'm not trying to make light of it, but terror stalks San Caluma. I would think that somebody is in San Caluma doing something. Terror stalks like that,
right? Like a serial killer or something.
Something, I don't know, a man-eating tiger or something, depending on where San Caluma is.
And in all this mess, he still manages to get Lois in there and to put her in danger so the Superman can save her.
Yes, and she has to be rescued. Yes, indeed. Yep. So that's on top of the plane falling and the other plane falling and the dude in the closet and the ship not running and then the ship being pushed and then the ship being bombed by the airplane. And then, it's
so much. And the guys on the ship, they look down, they see Superman push. Oh, it's a demon. And they start shooting at him.
Yeah, they're taking shots at him.
And then they feel really bad. Because they get to San Caluma and they realize, he was just trying to help us. And we were shooting at him.
Which is funny that they put that in there, that the sailors actually recognized. Yeah.
And then we finally get introduced to Mumsen. He has all his plans apparently written down on some paper that he throws into the furnace. But Superman is fast enough that he reaches into the fiery furnace and pulls the papers out before they get burned too much. So then Mumsen blows himself up. Mm-hmm. The end.
Before he can give any information away, just like everybody else.
Now, if in Superman number 7, we get a story that ties into this and we find out that Luthor was behind the whole thing, man, I would get up and just clap.
Luthor was Mumsen.
He pulls off his mask.
Yes, in the next issue in one of the stories.
Yep. I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for that darn Superman.
Oh man, yeah, lots of franticness, just the return of the kinetic, frantic style of, and this is kind of a double thing. It's only 13 pages, and it feels like when he got done originally, it wasn't enough. So he inserted that dude finding out who Superman was in the middle, and then with all of this frantic all around it. It's just, Yeah,
and that threw me off. It had nothing to do with the rest of the story, and so I was, what?
Not at all.
What's happening here? Did I start a new story and not realize it? And then, so again, I had to go back and read it a second time. It's pretty weird that a 13-page Golden Age story would confuse me so much that I have to go back and read it again.
It had so much in it that, and so much that wasn't explained. It was just, you got into it, it happened. You got into the next thing, it happened. There were not necessarily any connecting lines or anything like that. Billy D, I'm drinking water with a flavor in it. Sorry, it's not anything more exciting than that. I'm an overweight old guy who's diabetic, so my days of interesting drinking are kind of over.
Is it magic water?
Yes. But it's not toilet water, because that's something completely different.
Good. And it's funny because when you really kind of look through it, we talk about how every bad guy, the first bad guy steps up and he does something bad, and then Superman tries to find out who he's working for, and then somebody comes and kills him. Mm-hmm. And then it really only happens twice. The guy in jail, the guard comes and shoots him and kills him, and then he gets shot and killed with a ricochet. But then it doesn't happen again until the two guys that set fire to the warehouse,
that put
as
Lois
they're leaving.
In danger. Mm-hmm.
The part where we had to get Lois rescued. As they're leaving, a car drives by and guns them down. But it only happens twice, but it felt like it just happened every page. Somebody was dying, and both times when they're killing the other person, somebody's yelling out, "Die, traitor!"
Mm-hmm. Now, you do have the dude who found out who Superman was, but he dies accidentally. So it happens. It happens 3 times, but so that's, but again, 3 times in 13 pages, that's going to feel like it's happening all the time. I mean,
right. Well, 3 times, and then of course Mumsen blowing himself up.
Well,
so
4 times, So
But I wonder, did the guy really fall down the stairs, or did Superman push him so fast?
No,
he didn't see.
We did not see anything like that. So
he did threaten to snap the guy's neck.
Yes, he did. And Superman is getting much more aggressive with stuff like that. Many panels of hand around throat.
Oh my God! Right,
coming up in these stories now. Yeah, he's getting much more aggressive. And what better to be aggressive about than somebody giving away your secret identity? I mean, if something is going to push Superman, may be the thing that left marks on that guy, or so, which is interesting because that concept comes up in another one of the stories, right? That's how he found out the dude only has 3 fingers.
Yeah.
And maybe the next one of the next ones, but okay. Yeah, I don't think I had anything else that I wanted to point out.
Nope, me neither. Done.
Alrighty then, folks. Terry Moore, Doug S., Billy D., and all you other people not sitting on cushions. Want to thank you for listening. Until next week, I'm Ed. That's Steven, and this has been the Superman Super Show.
Bye.
Ciao.
You've been listening to the Superman Super Show. Questions and comments can be directed to the Superman Super Show at gmail.com. You can follow the show on Twitter under the handle @SoupsSuperShow. That's @SUPS Super Show. And continue the conversation at the Super Show forum at forums.justanotherfanboy.com. We also encourage you to rate the show wherever available and share this podcast with a friend. All links will be in the show notes.
Superman is a copyrighted feature appearing in Action Comics magazine.
All right.
You ready?
Crunch this ice. All right, I'm ready.
That's me crunching ice too. Best I can
We
do,
should
sorry.
eat. We should eat potato chips. We should do anything that would make somebody go crazy.
Hell yeah! Get to the bottom of a cup with a straw. Do all that.